Morning, guys. It's Monday. It's the 21st of October, and this is the DAX technical analysis. We'll take a look at some charts in just a moment. But before we do so, let's just take a quick look through the kind of politics and central bank stuff, and then we'll move forward. Now, the trading disclaimer applies. It will be in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. And welcome to you guys that are in the room with me right now. Okay, so the week is going to be starting, I guess, pretty quietly on the data front. So most of the attention is going to be on the usual, which is Brexit at the moment. So the UK is expected to put the deal forward for another meaningful vote. But the House Speaker, the UK government House Speaker, John Bercow, is expected to rule it out of order. So we'll see. Otherwise, we'll be looking at statements from various parties and politicians on the debate of the withdrawal agreement bill, which is expected to start tomorrow. So that's going to provide quite a bit of volatility for the pound, which will be affecting our Forex trades if you get access to those. The purpose of the bill is basically to write Johnson's deal into British law. And if the bill is amended, Johnson may be forced to pull the bill, as there may no longer be support for the overall deal. The issue that he's got is that, even if all of his Conservative members agree the deal, there's still not enough votes for it to pass. The DUP, who's the Irish, the Northern Irish, if you like, supported party that they kind of rely on really in government, not supporting the deal, then really the only way to do it is to catch some deals from Labour. So there's a lot of ifs. He's got to catch pretty much every single Conservative vote and some Labour votes in order to get it passed. Maybe it's the case. I don't know. My own personal opinion is that I don't think this is going to go through very well, which irritates me. Anyway, moving forward, later this week, there's a meeting on Thursday, ECB, which will meet on Thursday. And I don't think anything's going to send anything new, but just be aware of that it is out there. Okay, now during the weekend, ECB sources are suggesting that the central bank is probably not expected to ease in the coming months, despite a likely downgrade of staff projections in December. So, we'll see how we get on. And incoming ECB President Christine Lagarde was confirmed by EU leaders on Friday. So that's pretty cool. So changes afoot over there. Right. So that's the kind of political stuff, central bank stuff. Let's move back into the DAX. So I've got a few charts that I'm going to share with you today, and I want to start off with just this one here. I'm just going to load up the ones that I was going to use that I prepped for the article, which will be released later on. Okay, so this one, what we have, this is a 60-minute chart. We have got a couple of things going on here. We've obviously got a bullish trend. We've got a Darvis setup here, and we've got a couple of these high volume node marked out. So the trend is easy enough to follow: higher highs, higher lows, consecutive series. And at the moment, the trend defining level, you would say, is 12,600, which has been tagged a couple of times. That's the first one there, tagged here and briefly pierced on, what would that be? Well, that was actually overnight session, I think, this morning. So I'd be very, very surprised if this level holds, because at the moment, when we'll look at the market profile later, we'll see how this was quite a considerable aggressive single print selling tail, and that generally suggests that there's quite a lot of selling pressure up there, and maybe that's going to just continue to flow and create some momentum to the downside temporarily, albeit, but we'll see. So I'll be surprised if this 12,600 level holds. If it doesn't hold, then the most obvious target to see to the downside would be somewhere around the 12,460. That reason for that level is not because it was a previous high over here or anything other than the fact that it's the composite value area high, and it's a composite of the month of October. Okay, and so generally the reason for that is that when price is trading above a value area, it wants to seek a fair value, and if you generally get these kind of single print tails, generally suggests that price is looking to come back towards an area of fair value. You could argue that we're in a value area right now, and I would agree with that. But if we break out of that value area, which is breaking below 12,600, then the next level to test would be the value area high. So that would be an area I'd mark out. Somewhere around that 460 zone could be interesting. Beyond that, I mean, there's quite a lot further to go before we find anything else of interest. And I kind of drew out 12 to 20, just because it's a higher volume node over here within this low volume area. And so that might catch price action. So that'll be somewhere around about the 12 to 40 zone. And below that, of course, you've got 1277 before you catch any significant high value area where price was happy doing business. So I think it's unlikely that you're going to get down there in a day, but it could grind down to that level in a week if the longer term participants of the market feel that there is value to be found down there. Okay, so that is the 60-minute chart. A Darvis is probably worth something just Googling and understanding, because it's a good little technical tool or technique, should I say, that can be very, very useful for you. So I've just drawn what I would consider as basic Darvis box. Anyways, moving forward, let's take a look at the next chart that I wanted to show. I need to just bring up my window. I just accidentally closed it on another screen over here. There we go. So let's press this one. That's the 10-minute chart. What did I want to show about this one? So this is kind of zoomed in basically on that 60-minute chart. You'll notice I've still got the same labels that I've used on the 60-minute, and they've carried across over here. But what I wanted to show on this one is the fact that we've actually got a bit of divergence that was forming here. So you've got these lower lows on price over here within this Darvis area, and you'll notice that on the oscillator down there, we've actually got higher lows. And again, draw whatever conclusions you want to on this. I don't tend to use divergence as much anymore, but that could well be a sign of things to come, so we'll see. But really, like I've said before, the main thing is breaking out of this high volume area. Breaking out of the value area is not easy. It takes a lot of aggressive selling or a lot of aggressive buying. So we really need to see some kind of ignition point to give us that indication it's happening. Okay, so not really a huge amount to talk about on the 10-minute chart. What else did I want to have a look at? Let's jump onto the levels real quick. So what have we got to work with here? You'll notice that on Friday, price action here spent a bit of its open. I'm not looking at the overnight session. I'm only looking from about 7 o'clock UK time, really. So the overnight session showed a progression to the downside, but a failure to make any real progress below the low of the previous day. It pierced it, but didn't really have any aggressive commitment. Then therefore was some responsive buying here, which pulled price action back into the value area of the previous day. But you'll also notice that we failed to tag the point of control. That's a sign of weakness. And as you'll notice there, it went on to progress to tag the lows of that day. Pretty much attempt to stay below the value area. Today, the levels that we've got that will be worth paying attention to, difficult to see on the chart, but hopefully you can see we've got a point of control down here at 648. So that would be expected to be tagged. We are looking at the low from the previous session of, the high of the previous session, 12,696. So, if we fail to break above that, then perhaps we're going to see some responsive selling, bringing us back down at the value area low at 12,626. If that's broken, expect us to go off to test the low from Friday at 594. And if that low of 594 is broken, then that's when we enter into an interesting situation of downside momentum. Take a quick look in on the market profiles here. What have we got? Well, from last week, Friday, should I say, we had a pretty neutral looking distribution here, a wide IB. I think I'm using a 2-hour IB, but it's a wide IB that's sort of split semi over the value area low from the previous session. It's not exactly the strongest situation. It didn't break the IB, so there wasn't much of a range extension to the downside. There was a range extension a bullish range extension. However, there was a single print selling tail, which is generally a sign of weakness underneath the point of control, which was a failure to tag that level. So, you know, I'm not going to just jump on the record and say, oh yeah, it's definitely bearish, we're going to be heading to the downside, because really at the moment we are caught up in a pretty wide overall composite value area. So we need to see a break below 620 or a break below 600 really to interest me. They are the levels, and to watch out for above, we've got the point of control we talked about before. We've got this value area high of Thursday's profile. We've got the value area low of Friday's profile. These are all different areas which you'd likely see price get tagged. And then the point of control from, what would that be? So that's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday down here, somewhere around about that 530. Also interesting target to look to tag. All right. I think that's pretty much the majority of it. The last one I want to share is this chart here, which is the strategy. You can get access to the trading strategy. I've released a series of tutorial videos. You can go into the Telegram channel, look at the pinned post on the Telegram channel, and it will direct you to the, actually maybe it doesn't, maybe it's in a different channel. Excuse me, I'll correct that. I'll post it again in the channel, and it's just a link to a series of YouTube videos which will enable you to understand how to download and install this software package, which is called Sierra Charts, and get and activate a trial version of it so you can play around with it. Get it set up so it looks exactly like this. So we'll skip you through the learning curve for this particular package and just kickstart you straight to an area that you're familiar with, which is the screens that I share. And I'll also give you access to the trading strategy so you can install it and use it and have it on your screen in front of you. Now, I use this for futures trading, but I do also share it for CFD trades as well. And I use it for DAX, FTSE, Dow, S&P 500. Yeah, pretty much those four markets, and it works for all of them. So if any of that tickles your fancy, then go and get access to the trading strategy. It will only be a trial version for you unless you are a member. And if you are a member, of course, you will get it for as long as you're a member. Anyway, enough of that. Let's just take a look at some of these observations. So you'll notice that the overnight session, which starts back here from Friday, is all ignored. But you'll see that it starts widening the bands up towards the 8 o'clock start here. We have a downside press down, and it actually tags. I don't know if that was a range extension or not from the previous profile. I think it probably was. It was actually a distribution range extension. But anyway, it bounced off of the deviation low, straight back towards VWAP, but actually created a buy signal here. But you'll notice that we were playing the bands on Friday. So there was a tag off the deviation high, came back down, bounced off of VWAP, came back up to the deviation high, bounced back down to VWAP, bounced off of that, hit the deviation high, bounced back down to VWAP. And you've just got this situation of playing the bands. And it was actually playing the upper bands, so everything above VWAP, for the first half of the session. So that suggests that the trend is not particularly strong. And when you get situations like this, momentum it doesn't exist in the market, and this strategy might not work for you. So you can operate an alternate strategy, which is playing responsive selling, responsive buying, responsive selling, responsive buying, and you're responding to the extremes on the VWAP. So that's an interesting little strategy, side strategy that you can use as well. And then it turns into a bearish session, and you'll notice a similar thing. Bounced off the deviation low, bounced back off VWAP, bounced off the deviation low, bounced up towards VWAP. So depending on the bias that you're in, so down here, obviously you've got a green bias, it's bullish. You've got a red bias, it's bearish. If you're not catching momentum during the session, you can always flip the switch and look at playing the deviation bands. So there we go, guys. That is my thinking and some of the observations that I've been making. And luckily for me, I didn't make any mistakes this morning. So that was all done in one take. Happy days. I tried to keep it to about 10-15 minutes. I think maybe we've run over a little bit, but hopefully you don't mind. And yeah, I'll share these this video and these screenshots in the article for this morning once I get it typed up. If I do get myself organized, I'll try and do these a little bit more regularly, maybe twice, 3 times a week. So come and join me, and start commenting if you want to sort of specifically look at something, or you've got a question about something that we're looking at. Then post it in the chat here, and it will be good to catch your feedback. Anyway, guys, that is where I want to leave it for today. Short and sweet, and yeah, it's a nice start for the session today. So get yourself back onto the market and see how you get on. The early indications for the strategy are suggesting that there's going to be a sell signal coming up here. My only concern with that is that we've been in the yellow on this overnight session, which means that we're already pressing these lows, and we've seen responsive buying already. So I'm not sure. Price action is about to turn neutral. Okay, it's back into sell mode at the moment, but it was about to turn neutral. If it does do that, and then it turns back to sell mode, it will provide a sell signal. The reason we don't see an arrow right now is because we're not over 8 o'clock. Anything that happens before 8 is ignored. So you'll notice that price action turned bearish before 8 o'clock and stayed bearish. So that's not a signal. It will only be a signal at that point where the arrow is if we're over 8 o'clock. All right. So there are some conditions that you would need to be aware of. And that tutorial series I talked about a moment ago should explain all of the different subtle nuances to watch out for. So go and take a look at that. Right, guys, I guess the last thing I'll just talk about is last week. Go and check out the Forex signal history if you're interested in trading Forex. Last week was outstanding. It was another strong week. It takes our total for the year to date to about 180% return, which is nearly tripling the account, which is superb. Makes up for the less excellent DAX performance for this year, but that's why you trade multiple markets. You can't just rely on one market to to earn you your money. So yeah, some really strong performance. I think there's 39 signals on Forex for last week, and it was strong double-digit growth for last week. So yeah, really good. Go and check that out. I produced an article on the website, thedaxtrader.co.uk. Go and get yourself over there, and the homepage should show you week 42 Forex summary. So check it out, see what you think. Right, guys, that is me done. So if you've just joined us, I apologize. It was only intended to be a short one today. I'll try and do this a couple of times over the weeks, during the week. Come and join me. Look out for the link in the Telegram channel. Okay, guys, have a good trading day, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Take care.